Victor, we have more of the Corki. So if we are looking for that early brawling, we might have to see a bit more of a sideline take on the meta and go towards some of these picks which can fight level 3, level 4.
So far, it's a stable one. Gwen should be banned. Come on, Gwen is immune.
Gwen is
I'm
immune.
done with that. So
Non-immune for the bans.
at least get her there on the bans. What do you would like to see more ban as well, Treble?
All right,
Or
so
the prediction.
I would definitely like from the set of Dusty, you ban out the Riven, even though I think that Aleaf has been having a pretty decent showing
great
in the
one-offs.
top lane, especially when he played the Graga. So I don't necessarily think he should worry too much about the Riven, especially if he doesn't get out of laning phase, because Viking can play towards the top side of the map. And they have right side for Dusty, so it could be very easily counterpicked from the pool of Aleaf. But that means you're playing towards top side for Dusty. And do you want to let Azitor and Abagnale run away with your game? You're going to have to wait and see. So Rek'Sai possibly the last ban from the side of NYYRIKKI. And from Dusty, we could still even see the Riven if you don't want to deal with it.
There is that as well, but then of course, if you with something like the Rek'Sai I'm picking up and also in the Riven in the other way, like if you have had a bit of time off and you have hyper prepped for it, then maybe you can bait it in and say, sure, pick your main. See what happens with that. We know that NYYRIKKI has had a bit more Gandian Orthodox kind of thing to it. Singularity have done the same. Now so with stuff like the Janna, maybe we're going to see something like that coming out.
So the Javan ban right here tells me that NYYRIKKI want to play an absolutely immobile bot side of the map. My eyes fall straight into the Aphelios, they fall straight into the Jinx, they fall straight into possibly the Varus. We've seen Amulet pull it out a lot of times. It's been played in the LEC as well from Unforgiven. So yeah, I think this is what the Javan ban signals for me at this point. And also seeing the scaling mid lane, I'm like...
Yeah, that's not enabled
NYYRIKKI
yet.
are definitely going for the hashtag we scale yet again, which is kind of scary considering our concerns with NYYRIKKI is like that a lot of the times they don't get there to get their advantage.
But the thing with something like a Corki as well is that often you say, look, if you're going to play Corki, you need to have something to bridge you through into 2 items, because you can't play something like Corki Hecarim, right? Because you just cede all pressure there. You need winning side lanes or a winning jungle matchup. Now playing into the Jinx, that's kind of rough. You're losing the mid lane matchup with the early on, at least with the Victor coming in. If you're aggressive that Victor, Corki doesn't get to assist at all in brawling in the mid jungle 2v2. So that can be very important on Dusty's side too, as you're talking in terms of like getting back on something to back up Viking. Question is, NYYRIKKI, you need to have somewhere winning on the map now. That's what really killed you in M&M. That early game was not playable because you had 3 losing lanes.
Aphelios
This can help.
Lulu?
Aphelios Lulu does help. It also takes the Lulu away from the Jinx. Aphelios Braum is not bad either, but that's less about winning the lane. That's more about just surviving.
Yeah.
Lulu was tweaked, by the way. Remember that. So Janna could be the pick here for the Aphelios, no?
I think it's still a very powerful pick towards the bot side of the map. Even though the W is like a larger cooldown right now, I think it still does wonders, that attack speed that you can give, the shield
The
that
movement
you
speed
can give.
importantly too.
And
You need
right
the extra
now,
mobility for someone like Aphelios.
And right now, you don't just have one carry, you have 2 carries. You can give that all these buffs towards the Corki, but we're talking absolute smack because the Rakan provides a lot of shielding, healing, peeling, and engage.
So I was talking about this a little bit with my brother, Initialize, who's over there. Hi Sam, how's it going? But the thing about Aphelios is that if you are good enough on that champion, and Azitor is damn good at it, you can just win by very good weapon management and understanding the absolute outplays that you can have. And we've seen some wonderful ones from a lot of players, Nata being one of them in our league as well. The Rakan is not going to help you pull off your own stunts. You're going to need a bit of a stunt double to help you up here. You're not your own stunt man. And against the Jinx Lulu, I just feel like Vence has been given so much of an easier time to do this.
And again, it is Azitor and Abagnale, the winning condition or the power duo
So
on the
far
team
from
of
what we've seen,
NYYRIKKI,
yes.
And they're putting themselves a little bit behind versus Dusty. And if Viking is capable of assisting the bot lane, shutting down NYYRIKKI, that could be the winning factor.
So here's the thing right here. You have to ban out the Hecarim if you're NYYRIKKI, because you have an extremely immobile
And you're losing the
backline,
jungle too, 'cause you have a Corki.
especially with the Aphelios. And thank you. And because Dusty have the first pick right there, they could absolutely like decimate Aphelios, because the Rakan will go in, he will try to create the engage. And also if you leave it open and you don't pick it, then NYYRIKKI have a really good engage tool together with the Rakan and the Hecarim. Now another champion that can create these engages for you would be Vex, but both of the mid laners haven't picked. And I'm thinking, what else do you have in store? Because we could see potentially something like a Camille go through. Renekton is not being played, is not being banned out yet. And I'm thinking that with the Fiora ban, Alif might be thinking going towards something like the Camille, jumping into the backline.
Sion on Camille, those are the three which I'm thinking of from the top lane. Now, we briefly mentioned it in the patch rundown and kind of looking about the place too. Maybe you can pick a run at you jungler with the Lulu and just put the Whimsy on them, run at you. Maybe Udyr is a bit far out there, I don't know.
Rek'Sai is available.
Rek'Sai is available, and Olaf's out there too. And yes, you do have an enchanter. Olaf is very bad without speed ups, and we were talking about in terms of the mobility of the AD carries, very much helping out with that. But how odd is it in general that we've got 3 to 4, 5, and we don't have any jungler picked? That's a very different kind of run at you jungler, but it does do the trick.
Ooh, I love this.
Top lane then as well?
No, this is jungle. Malrank played it with Predator. I made my research on him, and I'm like, this guy is bringing spicy picks, and he brought out the Volibear with Predator. I think it's very clever, because you've got the speed ups, you're gonna most likely have Predator if that's Viking on the jungle with the Volibear, and then you can just run over the Corki, you can just run towards the failures. Now, Trundle really ruins the idea of Volibear being your frontliner, being invincible. And NYYRIKKI, all in all, I think have built a very well-rounded composition. They've got their engage, they've got their disengage. They took away the gangplank, which I think was something that possibly Dust should have taken for themselves. Instead of prioritizing the Volibear for Viking, we could have seen a GP. I still don't mind the Ornn. I think both compositions are very well-rounded. I will favor a little bit the side of NYYRIKKI just because they have a little bit more ease in engaging and reaching the backline with the Gangplank ultimate and with the Rakan.
And now look at this now, because now you don't just have the package and you have the Rakan engage to be worried about. You now have the Trundle pillar making that much easier, forcing out flashes, forcing out everything else. Trundle ult is already good against tanks, and Volibear is a tank that doesn't scale. We've seen the Volibear once in the NLC and actually went for the press the attack because the Zillion came in for the speed up, which meant it was like, okay, maybe you don't need both. I think that either build is fine here. Just get into the lanes early with something like a Predator could be very, very valuable. Either way, you have the Lulu to help you with that, but the Trundle is going to make your life living hell.
But if you bring the Predator, you lose the pressure attack. And if Trundle gets you in the
maybe you
jungle,
don't win versus the Trundle anyway, just get places quicker. Maybe that's logic.
I just find it so difficult for Volibear to get anything. You go bot lane, Rakan is going to stop you. You go mid lane, Corki is going to have W. You go top lane, Gangplank has the orange. Like, who do you gank? It's going to be extremely difficult to play through.
It's a big question, but that's up for the casters who are waiting for us. The champion select is done. It's the first game of week 4, day 1. And we have initialized alongside with Goldberg.
Indeed, you do. 2 icons of style here. We chose these jackets independently. Look at this. It's amazing. I'm well impressed with our accidental coordination there, but enough of that. Pleasure to be here with you for the first time, but...
Pleasure to be here with you.
Know, it's so exciting. Isn't this great? I know.
We're already in sync with the clothes. What are we going to do once we get in-game?
It's only getting better from here, guys. I promise you. Probably needs to, actually, because we need to talk about those 2 drafts. And we were having this chat a little bit over here about ease of execution and where we're feeling with these 2 comps. At least halfway through the draft, maybe favoring Dusty. Has that changed? Now you've seen the rest of the picks?
So I think if I have to go down to it, I think we take a look at the bot lane in the beginning. You have a double range bot lane with the Jinx, with the Lulu. Against the Rakan, he doesn't do all too much in the early game. If you go in, you don't have the highest burst of damage, right? And I think the fact that Jinx is able to outrange the Aphelios when he doesn't have the Calibrum does give you a bit of extra pressure down in that bot side from the side of Dusty. So I think there's going to be a lot of pressure to work for. Then you take that up to the mid lane, and you have Victor into Corki. How many times have we seen a Victor solo kill Corki level 2? Like, there's a lot of pressure to come out in the early game from a Victor too. So I think if you want to be successful from the side of Dusty, it's about playing around with this pressure, starting to rotate a little bit, see if you can stack up some early objectives for the Volibear. Because I don't actually think Viking's job necessarily needs to be go for a gank in the beginning. I think it's just get priority from those 2 early lanes at the beginning. And then I think the Trundle kind of saved the draft a little bit, because it's pretty good against the Ornn that they picked in there.
It is.
But I will say my biggest scare from the side I have with NYYRIKKI is that they don't have really solid engage. The Rakan is your only solid form of engage, and we've seen how many times that Rakan can get blown up just when he walks in there. So I think it's going to be curious to have a look at how they play around this engage, because there is a lot of pressure on Abagnale to get that through.
Okay, and we'll see whether he can pull it off. And of course, what NYYRIKKI do have in place of engage is a lot of zone control between barrels and turrets and pillars and cannon barrage and rocket. You know, if you can force Dusty to come into you, and you know, when you've got an Ornn and a sped up Volibear coming into you, that's probably what's going to happen. You've got to hope for Dusty's sake they're ready to run through that sort of massive line of defenses. We've got a bit of a weird level 1 start, maybe.
Okay, so not pulling the trigger with the grand entrance from the Rakan there, so they are just going to be trading a few blows, so nothing more than that.
That's boring. I was hoping for something quite exciting off the start. You know, I was like, you said, wait a minute. I was like, here we go.
That's rather boring.
I know, right? A bit disappointing. But, you know, we've got to keep our eyes on it, and I have got a few numbers here for you for Azator versus Venza, because it's been mentioned on the desk, it's been mentioned multiple times, particularly around the rookie, that Azator has been one of those big performers for this team, even if it hasn't translated to victory, because he's got amazing laning stats. Like, he's first in the league in terms of CS per minute for AD carries, he's like 9.5, he's first in damage share, highest in DPM, highest in CSD at 50. Like, he's got amazing laning stats, and then on the type of Venza, it's like decent damage share, all the rest of it, good CS numbers and damage numbers, but he's been struggling a little bit in terms of dying a lot. He falls down to first blood 50% of games.
Yeah, it's more like the fact that Venza is incredibly greedy with his positioning as well. I think if we had a forward percentage in the league, Venza would probably be one of the leading AD carries.
Absolutely.
Just because he loves to be in front of your face. He loves to be the one just pushing you down under the turret, even going for dives himself, where he just literally died while he was diving as an AD carry. Who would have thought? But this is kind of how the bot lane down towards well, funnily enough, the bot side is supposed to go. Once you have a double range bot lane, once you go against melee and the Rakan and one ranged AD carry, you usually just get the priority. And one thing to notice is that both bot laners are actually pathing down here, but no vision from the side of NYYRIKKI, not even in the tri-bush. I think mostly Viking, though, he is just here to shadow, make sure that they can crash the wave, go for a cheetah recall if that's what they like to, and then he can just go for the scuttle himself. So I don't think we'll be having too much action here in the early game until we start looking at the first Drake.
Yeah, Trundle has gone for that full clear, where Viking did skip out on the Krugs, he skipped out on the Wolves. He's going to get onto that Scuttle Crab first, as you called out, Goldborg, but was just looking to see whether there was maybe an angle towards bot side, just shadowing his lane to make sure that Enchanter lane does get to keep the shove in, doesn't get ganked, which is always a bit of a disaster in those early levels. Hence the Caitlyn ganks every time we see that.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a champion that demands priority down towards the bot side of the map. Now, if we take a look on towards the top side, we can see that Prochaska actually putting himself in a position where he was able to shove in the waves, he's picked up a Sheen for himself. Now, in this laning phase itself, it's not going to do much, but if it comes to a point where you want to cross-map up towards the package with a Corki, and you have a Trundle as well, taking away the resistances of your own kind of just neutralizes him as a champion and makes sure that you can pull off some of these dives. So if you ever catch him off guard with a bad wave save, as you can see right now, it's going to be slow pushing into the side of the GP. You can actually capitalize on it, but I think that's only when we get to level 6 on towards the Trundle. And speaking of resets, you can see both junglers have just gone on off the resets as well, coming out with pretty much identical items.
Exactly that. That's a Sheen across the board for both those sides, looking to go towards the Divine Sundra. Nothing super excited to happen yet, and kind of shows in the lane states and the gold right now. Is all quiet on the home front. I'm probably waiting for some of those bigger ticket ultimates, as you called out, as maybe when the dragons start spawning as well. And of course that 8-minute mark when Herald spawns and everybody suddenly drops everything to go murder people.
Hold the phone, though, to see it.
He was thinking about it.
He was thinking about it, and a good kid pillar can make you force away the flash, but Corki with a tier and a null magic mantle at the moment does not have the highest amount of damage.
Yeah, you see the missing pings there as well from Desidero. Just wondering where Viking is trying to scout him out, and now, of course, he's on a ward and towards that top side brush. We'll know where he is, and that gives a little bit more license to the rest of the map to know what's going on, because tracking that jungler is so important. Happen now finds a pretty nice little engage there at the stop, gets the heal out of Venza, which I'm not sure was all that needed, all things said and done.
No, it seems like they just got a little bit scared of getting dove there, but okay, so the initial play you want to go for is Dusty is here. You want to push this wave in, because you know your jungler is pathing down towards the bot side. So if you can push the enemy jungler in, come back with an item advantage, you should totally have it. And Azator's going low.
So low! And Venza, he's so aggro. FGG goes down for first blood. I actually apologize. It's FGG who gets that one onto his name. Support for AD carry, and I feel Dusty came out ahead of that one.
Yeah, definitely. The AD carry can stay in the lane, farm up that extra gold, get that extra experience lead. So despite not getting the recall down before the NYYRIKKI bot lane, the Dusty bot lane is still able to find himself a favorable trade-off there. Brilliant stuff from Dusty, and with this, they should be able to push in the bot side. Get a reset through topside, though.
Elif had to flash over. It's a flash for the brittle proc. And Patoska falls as well, and it's falling apart from NYYRIKKI here.
And that's definitely not how that lane should go. It's the Ornn that's forced to slow push into the GP, and all of a sudden, you get caught off guard. Level 6 for Elif, and Patoska, he's just not ready for it.
Who needs your jungler to get involved when you can do it all yourself?
Pretty much it.
Let's have a look at this replay here, because this is with the heal burn. Remember, Venza burned it like moments before this play.
But it also comes down to, once again, when you're playing against an Enchanter going under the Lulu here, like, you can see the amount of damage that she's able to pull through. And as soon as the W is flashed out away from Amagnale, a lot of that burst that comes through that kind of allows you to win the 2v2 is gone.
There we go. Every summoner burned in the bot lane. Both junglers now eyeing that one with some very hungry eyes. Of course, Jinx Lulu without flash, significantly less safe than the Rakan in particular, but definitely an angle, and you mentioned it before, but Victor definitely using those early levels to get a little bit of a shove in on Aero as well, who's been forced back a little bit, and what this has led to with our lane pressure and both sides is an early Drake.
And this was kind of what I mentioned when we were talking about the nature of the draft, because not too much should happen in the early game and lane should just be pushed in. That should allow Viking to just start this objective stacking for themselves. I would love for Dusty as well to once again get the priority down there with the bot lane and then move that bot lane up towards Herald once we reach that 8-minute mark. Because when you are playing around with lanes with priority in the early game, that's where you really want to utilize the most of it, because the desk was talking about it. There is still some late game threats on the side of NYYRIKKI's composition.
Yeah, Corki at 3 items, Aphelios at 3 items, GP at 3 items. All of those things do disgusting levels of damage. I think anybody who's seen Corki at all heard the LCK commentators literally start like falling apart over it. Probably seeing what this champion
who can blame them? Who can blame them for what they have to go through? That's not best of once. That's best of 3 with Corkis all the time.
My days. It's like, it's a 0-0 Corki that's just doing horrific things to both the mental and health bars of everybody involved. Still, got ourselves a little bit of something here with gold relatively even, but nice early plays from Dusty.
And here's the thing, once again, have a look at the minimap. We just saw the bot lane of Dusty, moved into the mid lane. It's going to be picking up this wave, so got the bot lane priority, moved into the mid lane. That's a little rotate here, and now they're starting up the Herald. So once again, this is exactly what we want to see from a team who's drafting winning lanes in the early game. Question is, does NYYRIKKI feel comfortable trying to contest this one now?
They're going to step in and give it a go. Viking has started it up. Nut is a level 6 now on FGG, and that is a call of the Forge God. Zidway knocked up. He's gone down. Backlund gets that one, but now the turnaround damage starting to fall through. Viking has a wild growth, though, on top of the Stormcaller. Keeps him alive, and that Cannon Barrage won't do enough work. But Aero is here with a lot of rockets, and maybe with the health bars so low, they don't feel comfortable finishing this one up, and it's 1 kill, but no Herald secured.
No Herald secured. Luckily, for the side of Dusty, they can always just go for a play like this again if they're patient enough with it. But also from the side of NYYRIKKI, like, they're still completely dead even in gold. So despite them being pushed in a lot, and despite them being down in the kills right now, they're by no means out of the game. But once again, brilliant fight from the side of Dusty, and a little bit of a mistake from Desidera, flashing in a straight line to only get hit by the Arnold again, and I think we'll have a look at it.
And this is the replay, and there's the call of the Forge God, and suddenly you're in a lot of trouble as Desidera there, even with the flash.
Yeah, it's just not a very good flash. It's straight up in a straight line, funnily enough. It's like trying to dodge your hook and just flashing in a line as well. You never want to see it.
Oh, but I'll tell you now, Viking got very close to going down because he was walking across a very nice red carpet courtesy of the package there. Always a dangerous point to be fighting over, but now that's not available, and everyone is back here, and we're going for round 2. 4 members strong, both AD carries still on the bot side, but Zidro just gets knocked up and knocked straight down. It's a repeat of the same play right over again.
So what's the definition of insanity once again?
Yeah, I believe he's tried the same play multiple times. Backlund does get chunked out, but it's just not enough kill pressure, and that now is Herald over to Dusty, but
no,
I say that,
not.
they're just backing off again.
Okay, this is very interesting. I'm pretty sure Viking could just be soloing this one out, but I think it's a jungler's mentality of, hey guys, I haven't cleared my bot side. My camps are going to get behind in XP if I don't clear it now, so I'm not going for the objective. We're clearing the waves. I'm going to clear my camps instead. So that's pretty much what we're going to be doing. But once again, it's still a winning play for Dusty. Now he can pick up the blue buff for Backlund, and as soon as he has this blue buff, he can keep Aero pushed in under the waves all the time. If you want to make matters worse for NYYRIKKI now, what you want to do is, oh, I love it already. Look at the minimap. You're rotating the bot lane up now. You get prior of top lane, and now you can start invading the enemy blue buff as well. And if you can take away the blue buff from Corki, then you once again just keep up with the priority in the mid lane. This is looking really good from the rotations of Dusty.
One of the most aggressive AD carry players in the league, backed up with a partner who can help him shove. Looking really good for Venza thus far early on. Of course, it has led Azador to get a couple plates in the bot side. Takes a bit of a chunk here from Elif and gets rid of the wave as well. Of course, has got Severum, so should be able to heal her a little bit. Volcanic Ruptures abound.
Yeah, someone needs to tell Azador that Elif has picked up his assassin's item on this on, so you need to be careful. Flashy stuff also.
Yeah, he needs to be a little bit worried here as well. That's the charm, and of course, there's a subjugate. I think Elif is going to be in a lot of trouble. Takes a lot of healing. There's the call of the Forge God. Got to try and go and make himself go unstoppable. The Ignite comes through, and he might just survive. One final Q would do it. Ignite just ticks through, and they pick it up, but that got very close.
Finally got it done, and I think Aleph got a little bit greedy in terms of how tanky he actually was, but then again, NYYRIKKI invested a lot to get those kills down. But it was a shutdown, nonetheless. Unfortunately, a shutdown for your Rakan, who's now also worth a shutdown. So if this Rakan go down in a fight, that's extra gold, and that's never what you want. As Riot's balancing team is shedding a tear over how beautiful shutdowns are in this game.
It was not the reference I was expecting, but I appreciate it.
It's beautiful.
As is this Herald play topside, even if the plates were a little hard to take down, Herald makes that significantly easier. They return to the scene of the crime. Third time was the charm, and they did manage to secure it. As it's all, though, has been able to get most of the plates down here, just not been able to secure all of it. There's a little bit of a disconnect there. I'm hoping he'll be right back in, and is just as well. No pauses to be dealt with, which I'm very grateful for, but Dusty, with that Herald, secured 2 whole turrets off that Herald shove.
That's the thing, in the span of 2 minutes, Dusty has equalized the gold deficit to the side of NYYRIKKI, where they're now behind 2k gold. And that's just brilliant play. Over on the other side, NYYRIKKI, they are able to trade away the objective of the Drake for themselves, which can help them stall out the game a little longer in terms of the stacking is done for Dusty. They can't just go collect those 4 in a row Drakes, but obviously looking at the gold lead, you would assume that the game is still going to be very much in Dusty's favor. But I like the way NYYRIKKI is playing it out. Just have a look at the vision control. One is completely red, one is completely blue on the other side of the map.
It absolutely is. That trade in vision, they've played that pretty well considering what happened with the Herald. Of course, they'll pick up this turret, that'll even the gold up a little bit, but it's still 1,500 gold solidly in the lead for Dusty, which I spent a lot of it, is on Venz's Jinx, which is a recipient of a lot of that tower gold as Aero just takes vast quantities of damage. Velefu, who's just been doing this the entire game, not afraid of anybody on this map.
That's why Aleph is going to have the highest damage of the game after this one is done with the way he's playing the on, but it is obviously a strong champion, and without the Trundle around right now, taking him down with the resistance he's got in his kit, already with an old magic mantle, plated steel caps, and obviously an extra cloud armor, it is going to be a bit more difficult. Turret plating will fall in 30 seconds. There is no Herald around, so I don't expect we'll see too many plates taking down here, but if they continue with the pressure they have right now, with the on in the jungle as well, and the man advantage, they should be able to pick the turret down afterwards as well.
They're going to take a lot of this one. They've cleared out some of the vision. There are a few control wards behind them. Reason they were being a little bit cautious roaming down here with Viking to support, and here come the rest of NYYRIKKI, wondering whether they can defend this a little bit. They get 3 whole plates just before that. All the plates do fall, and that again is significant gold going into, guess who, Venz's pockets.
I would love if we could highlight the gold difference between the 2 AD carries here as well, just to see what the plates have done. And yeah, it's almost 1k extra for Venz, so a lot of people posturing down here. We may get a fight over for this second turret here.
Everyone around, they do want to secure this second turret of the game, and Tusker has broken the freeze he sort of had around his inhibitor turret, realizing what's going on the other side, going to try and get a little pressure onto that top lane turret, but it's a little too slow, gets the wave crash in, and that's about all she wrote home. Good stuff from Dusty.
My apologies. It is obviously the 3rd turret. They picked up the 2 turrets in the top side. Now it's the 3rd one. So Dusty just doing a phenomenal job. Only having the mid lane we're left to worry about. But this is where you start to equalize the game as NYYRIKKI as well, because it's going to become harder from the side of Dusty to take care of the turrets the further into the map it is. You have to venture further into an enemy territory, which means it's easier to find a pick. The most unfortunate thing now is for NYYRIKKI's composition. Once again, there's only very limited engage in your draft, which means if the Rakan is not finding it, if it's not a very good pillar placement, well, it will be easy for the members of Dusty to navigate around the threats if they have proper vision around their priority.
And that does mean that NYYRIKKI are going to want to be around those objectives before Dusty are. Make them come into all of that zone control, but that's easier said than done when we've just been talking about the vision control that was pretty heavily in Dusty's favor around the top side of the map. They've got control wards right down that river. I believe they'll have a little bit of pressure coming forwards as Aleph just looking to force Abagnale back away from these control wards here, and that's the aim of the game right now for Dusty. Control the vision, control the game.
Yeah, I think for Dusty as well, what you really want to take a look at is camp respawn timers. As soon as the enemy buff starts spawning, even Raptors, you want to make that a little objective, something to starve your opponents off, because the thing is, when you're counter jungling enemy, Raptors, blue buff, whatever it is, not only are you gaining gold, but you're also stealing away gold from the enemy at the same time. So the value is double kind of when you do that. So you want to be able to just get priority of the mid lane, move into the enemy jungle, start shaking away some of their camps.
See if they can pull that off. I do want to highlight, at least for a slight positive for NYYRIKKI, that while Venza has been gift-wrapped a lot of towers, gift-wrapped a lot of gold, Tosca kind of has been left alone as this GP to gain a lot of his own advantage, and GP does like to print money, and that looks...
2 crit cloaks.
It looks like, did you see Bwipo's build last night?
I did not, sorry.
So he went triple crit cloak
with
a Trinity Force and an Infinity Edge. That way he gets the Infinity Edge active by building it that way.
That's smart.
It's basically Edna mode out there from the Incredibles, that's what I was looking for. Completely mad. You know, like, no capes. There's 3 of them in the inventory, or at least 2 right now, and I wonder whether Potosca is looking to mirror some of what Bwipo was doing.
To give some extra context as to what Sam is saying is right now, is that Infinity Edge as an item usually only works as a 3rd item because you get extra value of the crit percentage when you have 60% crit, which is why you can now skip out on 2 normal crit items and just build 2 crit or 3 crit clothes.
Yeah, just build them. It's winter. Just wear the additional clothing.
That's a very good point. Now, objectives, less than 1 minute on Drake and less than 1 minute on Herald. So it's going to be interesting to see if these teams are going to be handshaking these objectives and say, you get Herald, I get Drake, everyone's happy. Or if one team is going to get greedy and try and take control of them all. Obviously, Dusty is this team I'm talking about because they are the one in control at the moment.
All of that vision in the river, very favored for Dusty. They're thinking about going up towards this Herald. Viking starts up. Elif is just playing bodyguard, and map zooms out. That will be a teleport in, but I just don't know how easy it will be for NYYRIKKI to even think about walking in here. It's already a decent chunk on Abagnale.
And the thing is, they do have a package on the Corki. The problem is he's soloing out the Drake right now. At least on the minimap, he's running back and forth for it. And there we have it. We are just ending up in a situation where objectives will be traded.
Exactly that. Dusty pick up that Herald. There wasn't really much room to contest. And
will they?
They're thinking about maybe just dropping this Herald mid straight away because NYYRIKKI just aren't going to be there to defend.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad issue. You can actually cut them off guard from the river here at the ramp as well.
There he goes. Drop the Herald, pick up the tower. It might be another double tower push. It's not even going to need to charge it. It's got the full HP bar.
And this is exactly what you love to see from Dusty here. You get the Drake's objective. We don't care for it. We're taking control of the map. We can stop you from taking the next one. Or at least that should be the theory behind it. Package is still up, and Abagnale can look for it.
Backlund did have to flash there, but it's into a cannon barrage now. In comes the package. Gonna try and blow up that Victor so low. He gets charmed up and goes down, but it's only 1 for none right now. The turnaround, though, from Viking. Stormbringer secures that. What is that? Rocket nearly deletes Venza. And that's Corki with 2 kills. That's a decent turnaround now for NYYRIKKI, who do punish at least somewhat for the shove in mid.
Yeah, Venza definitely did not pay attention to his own HP bar there. He thought he got the reset and just run forward, but when Rocket was all it took, so yeah, you got a mid lane turret, you actually got 2 mid lane turrets, but NYYRIKKI, they strike back, and they keep the game close with only 1k in between the 2 teams.
And that's despite 3 turrets in the advantage right now for Dusty. It looked so good, the Herald into the blocking off the entrances, getting that Herald push looks so good, and then that happens.
Unfortunate side there. So just getting a little bit greedy there. Dusty finding themselves in a situation where they thought they could take the team fight. The problem is, and I see this with a lot of teams as well, is as we take a look at the replay, when you finally get the 2 turrets, you feel like, okay, we have a gold advantage now for sure. Problem is, you haven't reset yet. You haven't actually backed to take care of this gold advantage and equalize it into items. Another thing is that the flash didn't come through from Winston in the beginning where the fight actually started. And let's take a look at his HP bar right there. He tanked the rocket, did not pay attention to it, and walked into another one.
That's unfortunate, and that's a big death. And it does leave the game very, very even, and wondering, like, wow, how come with all this, you know, all these towers going down, why is it so even? I just look at the discrepancy in top lane, this Gangplank continuing to just print money for the side of NYYRIKKI.
Yeah, it is obviously just a normal thing of the GP, only natural to his kit that you will have extra gold coming through as well. And now it's going to get interesting as well, because we get to this point in the game where it's going to be harder for Dusty to take care of these outer turrets, but having the mid lane trim pretty far back into NYYRIKKI's side, they can always just get priority of that and move their pieces around to it. So they're doing a phenomenal job with it right now. They are trading the pressure from the top side though, where you can see Aero right now. He's taking care of a turret for themselves, but the value right now is still at Dusty. They're picking up 600 gold shared between the 3 members, while Aero is only getting a little bit for himself. And remember, the game is still so close that no bounties is in place right now for these turrets.
That's a Shirelius though, and in goes Abagnale. He gets on top of that target. Venza dead to rights again. No flash, no hope, and he goes down.
Oh, they're looking for more though. No flash from Potosca though.
I thought about it. If you get on the other side of that blast cone, it might have been different, but FGG does get out alive, and just a single pickoff.
But still, once again, Venza getting caught off guard. Brilliant pickup from the side of the Sidro and Abagnale. They had the Shurelius, got the speed up through. Backlung needs to be careful as well. Abagnale is on vision.
And there's no flash, remember. That'll be a step forward, though. He's going to get back into so much damage goes down. Viking flashed in for this. He's in the Chaos Storm. Desidre taking so much damage. And the tower shot is what secures it. That's a frustrating one for the side of Desidre.
That's what you call unfortunate. A little bit of an interesting step up into the turret range, just underestimating where it actually was. But once again, NYYRIKKI doing a great job at finding the pickups. They're still looking, though.
Call of the Forge Gold just gets into it. There's a Sky Splitter into that strike from Viking. Shuts down the Corki, and a big pickup there. Turns it around again.
That's a 40-second death timer as well. You can see there's actually pings on towards the Baron buff right now. So Venza, he is spotted out on vision. If he can get safely to the Baron buff, this could just be Dusty trying to equalize the score, but this is Gravitum. There is Moonlight Vigil. He can be caught off guard here.
Desidre is still dead. He's going to get Gravitum binding Eclipse there with the flash forwards. Double teleport now. That's Backlund in. That's Aleph in. It's just not enough. Venza dead again.
And it's Venza again. As you mentioned, it keeps being the same pattern here for Dusty. They find the team play where it looks good. But then a few individuals are just getting picked off guard. We saw Venza now 2 times in a row. Backlung as well. It's not looking good for the Dusty AD carry at this point. That could have been a potential Baron, but nice pickup once again from NYYRIKKI. And we mentioned it. It is hard for them to find these pickups, but they're doing a great job with the few tools they have.
And I've got to call it out as well. Venza was like throwing down the blue trinket. He was trying to walk around. He was trying to be safe. He knew he was trying to be sensible. And he just gets flash Gravitum cubed by Hazardor. I mean, what do you do at that point?
I can obviously fault him that a little bit. I will say it looked like his rotation came a little earlier in the call where the team pinged Baron. He still moved down towards bottom, and then afterwards he was like, yeah, okay, I think we're doing Baron. And because of that, but that's the thing, because of just like one split moment where you're not really sure if you're going for the play or not, that is the second that actually matters.
Dragon about to spawn again. Unsurprising, there's a package in Aero's inventory. And they don't look they want to start that, because Viking, of course, now has to burn the ultimate. Aleph now going to try and turn it around as well. Misses everybody. Desidre has popped the Subjugate, making some of those tanks a little less tanky, or at least I believe it was onto Aleph, so just the Ornn who was made less tanky. And big ultimates down for Dusty. That's a lot of their engage, and it's just going to give NYYRIKKI the chance to get control of this mid wave and rotate to whichever objective they so choose.
Yeah, they should be able to pick up the Cloud Drake for themselves. As you said, there's a lot of grounding to play around with. From the side of NYYRIKKI, you can poke with the Gangplank barrels, you can play with a Corki poke. So they should just be able to force Dusty out of this one. I don't think they can actually get something on the other side, although Baron pings are coming down. I'm not sure this is a fight you want, though. You don't have the Volibear ultimate. You don't have the Ornn ultimate. This could be a back call from Dusty.
This feels like a bit of a flip, and they're taking it down pretty quickly with the damage, but Desidre is going to be around. Has got flash, cannon barrage come through, and that's what makes starting Baron against Gangplank so hard. But Aleph finding an engage. That's chunks on Abagnale and Desidre. Abagnale goes in anyway, and that's a 1-for-1 support for support. Patoshka, flash trial by fire, gets the parlay, and I tell you what, negotiations were goddamn short as Hazardor uses the passive from, or the active rather, from his Gale Force to secure another kill. Aero gets that, and now it's Baron on top for NYYRIKKI. I think they're doing it, Goldborg.
I'm not too sure what Dusty's decision-making is like. They're making some very weird calls. No ultimate on the Ornn, so even trying to turn is going to be difficult. While on the other side of NYYRIKKI, they still have the Gangplank ultimate. They had so much space to play around with. Dusty was like, yeah, we had a great early game. Let's kind of throw it in the mid game. Desidre died, though.
He did die.
No one
around. He gets away with it. I just realized, wait, he's dead. I was too busy looking at you, mate. Let's see this replay one more time.
And I was going to say, it's a great pickup by Aleph. The fact that they're able to push them away is nice to see. But then again, you're put in this position where there's Corki rockets to watch out for, Pitoshka flashing forward after a beautiful barrel chain, and then Acitor finally showing why he's had so much damage in the first week of NLC 2. Brilliant AD carry now, showing that the criticism we gave him of only being good at the laning phase kind of can vanish a little bit now that he's having his highlight moments here.
And I'm just really happy to see someone like Patoshka doing so well as well. This is a guy from when he was back playing outside of the NLC, when he was playing with NYYRIKKI in the leagues, in the Finnish leagues, in the Telius Master Series over there. This guy was a monster, playing Riven, playing Fiora, crushing absolutely everybody. He's struggled to transition that kind of performance here into the NLC Division 1. And this game, his Jax game the other week, much better stuff. And that was some absolutely filthy damage coming out the GP.
But now the game is also down to NYYRIKKI. They're the one who's finally picked up the lead for themselves. They're the one who's going to be dictating the game. And my main criticism for this roster in the beginning was the lack of team play. It always looked like they were on different pages and never followed the same game plan, playing to the individuality of the roster. This is something we want to see be cleared up now, and so far it's looking really good. They're playing on 2 lanes.
Gravitum, Moonlight Vigil comes through to Root, of course, onto Venza, the pillar comes through as well. That's going to be a attempted turnaround. Big Call of the Forge God teleport comes through from Aero. And actually everyone stays alive, but Venza inches away from death as a big one comes through and forces the wild growth out of FGG. Corki just is not balanced.
I love the adaptation from Aero as well, deciding to go for the AP build in this instance, because against the Victor, against the range from the Jinx, you won't get in auto-attack range. But if you start playing off your rockets instead, they won't be in range to actually target you. So it's a really good adaptation with the Corki.
And let's be real, he's got a GP, he's got an Aphelios. They're not shy on AD damage either. He can absolutely index into that AP. Harder to itemize and hitting like a truck, or at least a large sort of like Corki biplane
Well,
thing.
yeah, exactly. The fact is you have Shadow Flame as well. That's great against the Thimble Winter. It's great against the Victor Q. That also gives you a shield. It's great against Volibear. E gives him a shield. They have a Lulu on the roster. There's so much value in that item for the Corki too. It's actually true. Like it procs every single member of the Dusty lineup at the moment. Now, Baron buff will be running out shortly in just 30 seconds. So far, they've been able to trim down the map a little bit from the side of NYYRIKKI, but no inhibitors has fallen. I will say, though, this has given them the pressure to set up for the Drake, because the Cloud Soul is a pivotal objective for NYYRIKKI moving forward now.
And when you've got someone like Trundle with Cloud Soul, Rakan with Cloud Soul, that makes that engage. It was a little bit trickier before, that much easier. Minute to go.
Oh, look at Aleb. Is he spotted in the water? I think he might be. There's vision around it too.
Yeah.
But you can see they know as well from the side of Dusty. It's going to come down to this team fight. So far, the bot lane is completely pushed in, and there's deep vision from the side of NYYRIKKI. The river control is still in Dusty's favor, but they can only come from one point at the ramp. There's so much flank potential, and remember, Rakan is an easy champion to stop if you see where he's coming from. If Abagnale is able to get backline access from the back, oh my god, that barrel. That's going to be a different story.
Patoshka is just absolutely destroying people right now, and that's onto the support. There's no teleport, there's no way to reset. That's just going to be a Lulu at very low HP. Is Backland
oh my god,
not going to spot Abagnale. He's holding his nerve. FGG needs to be so afraid he's walking onto vision. My god, there's going to be the quickness. FGG needs to be so afraid. Wildgrave comes through. Ult for ult traded. They're moving in to take away this blue buff. Flash out from Viking. The pillar comes afterwards. And
insane
NYYRIKKI,
Wildgrove.
They just chase him out.
Yeah, brilliant Wildgrove there from FGG, though. He cancelled the grand entrance when he came in there. The problem is, though, once again, control is still in NYYRIKKI's favor. And you can look at the minimap. Dusty, they've forfeited this one. This is going to be soul over to the side of NYYRIKKI. Granted, it's not an infernal soul, but as you mentioned yourself, these champions, there's values to this soul for them.
All right, there you go. Soul picked up. NYYRIKKI in firm control. 2 minutes till Baron, and I feel for Dusty, that's got to be the point. If they lose that Baron, it's pretty much all but doomed.
Oh, Hero, he's actually looking for backline here.
2-level advantage. There comes the Chaos Storm. Valkyrie away. Ultimate down now for Backland, but now, while the Corki is gone, they're going to try and engage on to Dezidre, who goes down. Venza picks it up. My god, the damage from that GP nearly takes out Viking, but he does get out alive with some few key ultimates. Watch for Patoshka. He's still got the barrel chains available. Azator still doing damage, but they're down a member, and maybe Dusty can get something off the back of this.
Yeah, maybe, but they're still flashing the side of Azator as well. Finding the backline there is going to be really difficult, and you're playing into the poke of Aero, and you're playing into the poke of Patoshka. Feels like it's just going to be a few resets, but you can see it. Dusty, they're hungry for it. They know they need to pick up some of these kills. Objective bounties live for them now as well, but there's not too many turrets to pick up anyway. There's only the 3 turrets left for you to grasp in front of the inhibitors, and let's be real, if you finally get to touch them, it's probably because you put yourself back in the lead.
I think that's fair, as that big one, even through the Bloodthirster shield, takes half of Venza's HP. I'm not sure whether we're allowed to broadcast that. It's not 9 PM yet. That's definitely post-watershed stuff. 30 seconds until Baron spawns. That turret in mid lane on inches of HP, and Aero's going to just tank it. Can't quite take it. He was definitely thinking about it.
I was going to say, don't worry, the rules for national televisions is different here in Scandinavian.
What is the rules here, actually?
Well, I don't actually suppose it's as strict as the British television, because you're allowed to curse at least in Danish television as well, during broad daylight as well. I don't know if that's the thing where it has to be...
It tends to be after 9 p.m, and I think Dusty were potentially wishing it was a little bit later at this point, because Baron's about to spawn, and they wish they could stall a bit longer, and might be some curses due, as I might need you to come over here, because your poor screen is back. That's fine. I'm a bit worried for my co-cast there, who was suddenly staring at a very blank monitor. He's alive, so is the Baron, and I think we're about to see a very apocalyptic fight.
Oh,
Aleph.
Looking for it.
He's done that so often this game. He's going to be forced to flash this time, down to half HP.
Oh my God!
The force goal comes through. In goes Viking and Azator, down to 20% HP. Viking takes a barrel chain and regrets that one as Petoska also takes a chunk from the death ray. Abigail now looking to maybe turn this one around. Those are some big ultimates down. Those are some low health bars. Aero is back though with the teleport. No package to his name though. Means he's less of a threat than he might be in a few minutes.
Yeah, they're not too sure if they started up, but the E from Volibear will give the vision once again. Looks like they're just going to be backing off. There's no need to flip it from NYYRIKKI here. We already saw what happened once when Dusty tried to do that. Question is, will Dusty force it once they realize that NYYRIKKI has backed himself? And it seems like the answer will be no.
Few key things. Aleph late enough into the game now to have got a few of those Ornn upgrades through. That is that turbocharged experiment in his own inventory, but that is a Wormfallen Sacrifice. There we go. Remember that.
I'm actually quite
Kraken
impressed. I was like, wow, he remembered the Chemtang item? Who knows that item?
Roughly, there's one or two I remember. But the Wormfallen Sacrifice in for Venzo, who has got the 3 items, not quite at the infedge yet. So if they can stall for that, suddenly maybe they can start continuing to do some of the poke that forced NYYRIKKI off that Baron the last time.
The thing is, being first on objective will also be pivotal, because the Victor is struggling to get the damage down once that NYYRIKKI is the one deciding the fight, the one dancing first, if you may. So if you can get in first, that would definitely be worth it. But you can see on the map right now, the map state is just favoring NYYRIKKI. The vision state is favoring NYYRIKKI, and they've started up the Baron here, forcing a TP out from Backlund. Granted, it's not the furthest. Here come Aleph too.
Watch for Petoska as well. The infedge is complete for this GP. He's got enough cryptos. He's going to hit like a Drake. Abigail off. Vision going into the backside. Venza has to flash. He gets out this time, but how much damage from that quickness? He goes down. It's a 1-for-1, but I think you take support for your mid laner. Viking goes in, but he's had to go golden. The stopwatch comes through. He goes back out. That's the ult missing from Azator. The damage from Venza is just obscene. Help picks doing so much work. No rockets left for Aero. He's out of ammunition. Flashes away as well. And Dusty are holding on even down the member.
You can see how close these fights become. It's 2 team compositions that kind of want to do the same. Aero, watch out here. Oh my God.
Venza takes so much damage, and watch for the GP. He can get a barrel chain. He murders FGG. He's gone. The Lulu is dead. The damage.
My God.
My God, the double. He might go for the triple as well. Viking finally shuts him down, but it's just not enough.
Petoska once again showing up on this gangplank. What have we just witnessed? What a beautiful TP on the pink ward. Then into the fuck-off wall. Taking care of the Lulu. Venza missing the last auto on towards the barrel and completely exploding.
Oh, if you walk into your own jungle today, you're in for a big surprise, because Gangplank had a goddamn picnic there, murders them all. It's char-grilled AD carry support there from one barrel chain. Foul stuff.
And this is going to be brilliant from NYYRIKKI as well, because what's that? 50 seconds on the Elder Drake with the Baron buff. They should be able to keep the mid lane and bot lane pushed up. They should be able to gain a lot of control of the enemy jungle. And the problem for Dusty right now is they're still facing a super fed Corki, a super fed Gangplank. We just saw what they're able to pull off in these team fights. So the fact you have to face check now to move in is incredibly scary.
That it is. 20 seconds now to Elder Drake. 20 seconds to find some way somehow to get into this river and try and keep Venza and Backlund alive. They'll go for the engage here themselves. They get onto Zidra. He's been the target and he's eviscerated. No chance, no way. That is the 7th death of the game for the jungler, who has been Dusty's target of choice.
And that's the thing, no flash on the Trundle. You step up too far forward, you're still not that tanky. He's got an anathema chains, but outside of that, there's really not that many resistances in the Corki build. Aleph maybe caught off guard from a flank of NYYRIKKI.
Calibrum Crescendum as the combo from Azator gets a lot of those chakrams. That's another big barrel chain into the ult. The Moonlight Vigil not quite enough up for the cannon barrage. Nearly secures Aleph. Into the backline goes Aero. Back over the wall. So much damage. Abinel gets the charm, but not quite the kill. Does get FGG. Goes Golden. Viking off to the side. Azator, Gale forcing forwards. Who needs a god-out jungler when you win 4v5?
And NYYRIKKI, they are just better right now. We were talking about the ease of execution from Dusty's early game. They were the one rotating all the objectives. Now in this late game, NYYRIKKI is just playing better than Dusty. Dusty is crumpling to the team fighting capabilities of Azator and the rest of NYYRIKKI.
Just so much damage, so much ability to blow up whoever dares walk into range. They've got themselves the Baron, they've got themselves the inhibitor shove, they've got themselves a wave, and Goldborg, I think it's time to speak some last rites. Yorick's not in the game, but the game's ending anyway.
I think so too. You can see he's doing his best, Viking, to keep the Nexus cleared off the enemies, but there's just nothing to do. NYYRIKKI settles what for many will be an upset, except you UK casters, you called it. Sam, you called it.
We're just bigger brain than the rest of you, apparently. NYYRIKKI with a beautiful win. It was a little bit messy, but there were some superstar moments there. Pitoska on that gangplank, I want to shout it out again. My days, the damage was unreal.
I think what makes this game even more incredible from the side of NYYRIKKI was the fact that the early game was just not going in that way.
Yeah.
Mid lane pushed in, bot lane pushed in, lose out on the first Drake, lose on 2 turrets on the top side with the Heralds as well, and then Dusty. You have to acknowledge that decision-making in the mid-game was horrible. They literally made game-losing calls that allowed NYYRIKKI to come back into it. But once NYYRIKKI was finally there, they did never let go of their lead.
They did not, and in that mid and late game, they come out victorious. But we have got so many more games today to go through, so we're going to toss to a break. And when we come back, we'll have some more NLC action. Don't you guys go anywhere.